The galaxy loved spectacles. Every few cycles, the Galactic Federation organized what they called the Concord Games, a vast exhibition of fleet maneuvers, mock skirmishes, and technology showcases. Fleets from 100 species converged to demonstrate their prowess. Swarms of sleek warships, glittering in the void like knives of silver, competed for attention and prestige. The event was not simply a test of strength. It was theater, propaganda, and politics wrapped into one. On that cycle, the Concord Games were held in the neutral Ancares system. The star blazed brightly, illuminating the vast arena of space where fleets arrived in ceremonial formations. Spectators across half the galaxy tuned in to the transmissions, watching as vessels darted and danced like predators showing off their fangs. Then came them, the UHS Dauntless. At first, the ship was hardly noticed. It translated into the system. With the slow ripple of a human drive core, its arrival marked not by the sharp flare of exotic slipspace engines, but by the sluggish burn of gravitic thrusters. The Dauntless was enormous, longer than most Federation battlecruisers, with thick gray plating and an archaic silhouette. It did not gleam. It did not pulse with elegant energy. Instead, it looked heavy, sluggish, almost primitive. The reaction was immediate. Across open channels, chuckles began. Laughter spread through alien crews who compared their sleek vessels to the metal turtle that humans dared to call a warship. Its engines flared weakly, its turning radius was appallingly wide, and it seemed to drift clumsily as if space itself resisted its movements. "Does it even move?" one Elvari captain sneered, his crystalline ship shimmering beside the human vessel. "Or does it just sit and hope the enemy dies of boredom?" Another quipped, "Perhaps humans believe the enemy will pity them and surrender at the sight of this relic." The mockery spread across the net. Memes appeared on spectator streams, depicting the Dauntless with cartoonish legs like a turtle, dragging itself through the void. Broadcasters laughed openly, commentators declaring that humanity had embarrassed itself by fielding such a clumsy vessel in front of the entire Federation. But on the bridge of the Dauntless, Captain Elias Var stood calmly at the viewport, hands clasped behind his back. He was a weathered man, his dark uniform bearing the simple insignia of Earth's defense fleet. His officers, younger and less composed, heard the insults echoing through comm channels, their faces hardened with anger. "Captain, permission to respond?" one lieutenant asked, her voice tight. Var shook his head slowly. "Let them laugh," he said. His tone was quiet, but carried the weight of iron. "Mockery is the weapon of those who do not understand. We are not here for their approval. We are here to endure." The games began in earnest. Alien fleets swept through obstacle courses, weaving between asteroid belts at blinding speeds. They performed coordinated maneuvers with dazzling precision, executing simulated attacks with such grace that the commentators spoke in awed tones. Plasma trails painted the void with color. Shields shimmered as they absorbed mock blasts. When the Dauntless's turn came, the difference was humiliatingly clear. The massive ship inched forward, its engines straining. It could not dodge asteroids with finesse. Instead, it plowed through the course like a plodding beast. Where others danced, the Dauntless lumbered. Its sensors were slower, its targeting systems seemingly outdated, its communications curt and minimal. The laughter grew. Viewers across the galaxy typed derisive comments into the live feeds. "Is this a museum ship? Humans must be decades behind. How does that thing even fight?" But there was something they all missed. The Dauntless did not falter. It did not fail. It did not crash into obstacles or break formation. Despite its slowness, it endured. Its armor scraped asteroids aside where fragile alien ships would have shattered. Its targeting, though methodical, was precise. Every simulated shot landed. And though its engines groaned, It completed every maneuver demanded of it. Var said little. He simply watched. His crew followed his example, bearing the humiliation in silence. They knew what their ship was. They knew what it could do. And then, something unexpected happened. Midway through the games, the alarms blared across all fleets. A rogue faction of raiders had entered the system. Pirates, not part of the Federation, but opportunists seeking glory in front of billions of watching eyes. They had no intention of observing rules. Their fleet poured in with live weapons, scattering chaos. Federation ships scrambled. The elegant Elvari vessels tried to intercept, but their thin shields collapsed under concentrated pirate fire. The nimble Serac cruisers dodged at first, but their light hulls crumpled when struck. The dazzling formations dissolved into chaos. Panic spread. The games had become a real battle, and through it all, the Dauntless kept moving. Slow, steady, unyielding. Pirate ships swarmed it, thinking the lumbering giant an easy kill. Plasma bolts hammered its hull, energy torpedoes slammed into its armor. The galaxy watched as flames licked across its plating, and then died against reinforced alloys that refused to break. The laughter stopped. The Dauntless turned, its broadside unveiling mass driver cannons hidden beneath thick plating. They fired with thunderous force, slinging tungsten slugs at velocities that shattered pirate shields in a single hit. Raiders that had mocked the turtle were ripped apart in seconds. Where other fleets scattered, the Dauntless anchored the battlefield. Its very slowness, once ridiculed, now became its strength, forcing enemies into predictable arcs, enduring their punishment while responding with devastating precision. Captain Var's voice echoed through comms, calm and unwavering. "This ship is not fast. It is not beautiful. But it was built for this. We do not run. We endure." One by one, pirate ships fell. The Dauntless's crew worked with grim efficiency, their humiliation transformed into fierce pride. Each enemy destroyed was another silence across the galaxy's mocking laughter. By the battle's end, debris drifted in the void. The Dauntless, scarred but unbroken, stood at the center like a fortress that refused to fall. And in that silence, billions of spectators finally understood. The slow human warship was deadly. The galaxy had gone silent after the battle at Ancaris. Billions had watched the pirates tear into the fleets of sleek, agile ships, and billions had seen the slow, lumbering Dauntless stand unshaken, turning jeers into gasps. But silence never lasted long in the Federation. Within days, commentary began to swirl again. "Yes, it survived," one analyst sneered on a broadcast stream. "But did you see how long it took to turn? How sluggish it was? That victory was luck, nothing more." Others agreed. Some said the pirates were weak, poorly trained. Others claimed the Dauntless had simply been a target too boring for the raiders to focus on. And beneath the ridicule was something else: fear. Not respect, not admiration, fear. Because if humans really built ships that could withstand that kind of assault, what did it say about them? That fear turned quickly into a challenge. At the next Concord gathering, a coalition of captains, alien commanders who had been humiliated when the pirates scattered their formations, put forward a request. They demanded a mock skirmish against the humans. Not a friendly game, not a maneuvering display, a direct combat exercise. Their excuse was simple: "We must test the humans properly. Their ship is outdated, their tactics primitive. Let us show them how real fleets fight." The Federation Council approved. The galaxy leaned closer to its screens. And once again, Captain Elias Var brought the Dauntless into the arena. The battlefield was simple, an asteroid field orbiting the cold moon of Carthus. The rules allowed live weapons set to reduced yield, enough to cripple, not enough to kill. On one side, the coalition, 10 alien cruisers, all faster and sleeker than the Dauntless. On the other side, humanity's single warship, slow as ever, engines groaning as it drifted into position. The commentators laughed again. "This isn't even fair," one whispered. "The human ship will be overwhelmed in minutes." The signal flashed. "Begin." The alien ships moved immediately, fanning out in perfect formation. They circled the Dauntless like wolves around a wounded beast. Plasma bolts streaked across the void, crackling against the human vessel's shields. Torpedoes detonated, bathing the armor in fire. The galaxy watched eagerly, expecting the Dauntless to crumble under the onslaught. But Captain Var did not order evasive maneuvers. He did not scatter or run or even try to dodge. He simply let the enemy circle. His officers exchanged nervous glances. "Captain," one whispered, "they'll pin us in a matter of minutes." Var's eyes never left the tactical display. His voice was calm. "Patience. Let them come closer." The aliens did exactly that. Their ships tightened their formation, emboldened by the Dauntless's lack of response. They swooped in like carrion birds, weaving in elegant arcs, pelting the human ship with every weapon they had. To the spectators, it looked like certain defeat. And then the trap was sprung. "Deploy mines," Var said. From hidden ports along the Dauntless's hull, metallic spheres floated silently into space. They drifted outward with no thruster trails, invisible against the black void. The alien ships, too focused on their circling attack, didn't notice until it was too late. A Serac cruiser swung close for a strafing run and vanished in a flash of fire as the mines detonated. Shrapnel tore through its shields, crippling its hull. Gasps erupted across the galaxy's broadcasts. Before the aliens could react, Var gave the next order. "Firemass drivers!" The Dauntless's broadside roared to life. Heavy hatches slid open, revealing banks of cannons hidden beneath the armor plating. They spat tungsten slugs at impossible velocities, each one a spear of death. Shields buckled, hulls cracked. Another alien cruiser spun out of control, engines erupting in a plume of fire. Now panic spread among the coalition. Their prey had teeth. Worse, its teeth were sharper than any they had ever seen. "Pull back!" one commander shouted over open comms, but it was too late. The Dauntless had been waiting for this exact moment. Its slow engines, mocked as useless, now became the anchor of the battlefield. The aliens' circling maneuvers forced them into predictable arcs. Every time they swept past, they entered the kill zone of the human cannons. One by one, the hunters became the hunted. A gleaming Aelvery ship dove in, shields blazing, only to be met with a direct broadside. Its hull split like glass, fragments scattering across the void. Another tried to break away, but struck a minefield seeded earlier by the Dauntless's wake. Inside the human vessel, the bridge was calm. Officers worked with mechanical precision, relaying firing solutions, locking coordinates. They had rehearsed this countless times. Humanity's ships were never meant to outrun or outmaneuver. They were built to endure, to hold steady while the enemy's own momentum destroyed them. Captain Var finally spoke, his voice carried across Federation frequencies for all to hear. "You mock our slowness, but speed is a vanity. It burns fuel. It breaks formations. It kills discipline. We build ships that do not run, because humans do not run." The words chilled the galaxy. By the battle's end, the arena was filled with drifting wrecks. The Dauntless, scarred but alive, stood alone. Amidst the silence, the coalition of 10 cruisers lay scattered, every one of them disabled or crippled. The commentators, once mocking, now whispered as though afraid. How did it do that? One ship, against 10? The answer was simple. Patience. Var turned to his crew, nodded once, and ordered the ship to withdraw. The Dauntless did not boast. It did not need to. The galaxy had seen. What had begun as a cruel spectacle meant to humiliate humanity had ended as a demonstration of terror. The metal turtle had become a predator that even the fastest hunters could not escape, and across the stars, the laughter was gone. The wrecks of the Coalition's cruisers still drifted in orbit over Carthus when the Federation Council convened an emergency session. For centuries, the Concord Games had been a ritual of unity, a theater of peace. But now, thanks to humanity's slow, plodding vessel, the Games had become a warning to the galaxy. The Dauntless had not only survived, it had humiliated fleets considered superior for generations. On the council floor, voices clashed. "This is unacceptable," cried a tall Elvari delegate, her crystalline skin catching the light. "The humans have disrupted the balance of perception. Billions now believe their clumsy technology is somehow superior." Across the chamber, a Serac general hissed through serrated teeth. "Do not underestimate them. You saw what I saw. Their ship is no accident, it is strategy. A predator dressed as prey." Others scoffed. Some argued that humans had cheated, hiding mines or enhancing their weaponry beyond regulation. Others whispered that perhaps Earth was far more advanced than anyone had realized, and they had hidden it beneath a mask of weakness. But among the billions of spectators across the galaxy, one truth had already taken root. The laughter was gone. In its place spread something far more dangerous than ridicule, respect born from fear. Back aboard the Dauntless, Captain Elias Var walked the scarred halls of his ship. The crew worked tirelessly to repair plating, patch wiring, and clear the smell of ozone from burned circuits. They had won, yes, but Var knew what victories meant in the galaxy. Attention. And attention was rarely kind. He stood in the briefing chamber, looking at his officers. Their faces were bright with pride now, no longer burdened with shame. They had endured ridicule, and now they stood taller for it, but Var's expression remained grave. "They will not forgive us for this," he said. "The galaxy does not laugh at us anymore, but fear makes enemies faster than laughter ever did." The officers nodded, the weight of truth settling in. Weeks passed. Reports flooded in from every corner of the galaxy. Alien strategists scrambled to understand humanity's philosophy. In academies, analysts replayed footage of the Dauntless, again and again, dissecting every maneuver, every delay, every choice. They realized too late what humanity had always known. Speed was not survival. Endurance was. Most species had evolved on worlds where speed was life. Prey fleeing predators, predators chasing prey. Their warships mirrored their biology, swift, nimble, striking in bursts of energy. Humans, however, came from Earth, a world of storms, hunger, and wars of attrition. They were endurance predators, hunters who ran their prey into exhaustion, survivors who outlasted winters, sieges, and plagues. Their ships reflected that truth, and the revelation was chilling. A Serac. Admiral summarized it best in a classified report that was later leaked. Humans do not design ships to win battles quickly. They design them to ensure that when the dust clears and the void is silent, they are the only ones left standing. The galaxy took notice. The Federation summoned Captain Var to a grand convocation, not to celebrate, but to interrogate. He stood on a vast dais, a single human against a sea of alien leaders, while billions tuned in to watch. A counselor demanded, "Why build such a vessel? Why endure mockery for years, fielding ships that seem outdated, only to reveal this monstrosity?" Var's gaze swept across the chamber. He did not flinch. His voice was steady, carrying the same iron calm he had shown in battle. "We build slow," he said, "because we do not run. We build heavy because battles are not decided in minutes. They are decided in days, in weeks, in months. We do not believe in skirmishes of vanity. We believe in wars of survival. And survival he said, letting the silence stretch, is what humanity does best. A ripple of unease moved through the delegates. One Elvari scholar dared to ask, her voice hushed, "And if war comes, Captain, what then?" For the first time, Var allowed the smallest smile. "Then you will see what slow really means." The legend spread like fire. Across border worlds, children whispered of the metal, turtle that ate wolves. Pirate factions, once eager to test human colonies, avoided them now, terrified of the fortress ships that might lurk in defense. Rival militaries began redesigning their war doctrines, wondering how to counter an enemy that would never flee. Never falter, never tire. But the truth was worse than they imagined. The Dauntless was not unique. It was not a singular miracle of engineering. It was merely the first of its class to be seen by the galaxy. Behind it waited fleets, entire armadas, of slow, clumsy warships built in silence, hidden beneath the ridicule of decades. Ships forged not for vanity or games, but for survival. Humanity had tricked the galaxy into underestimating them, and now that mask had been lifted. On Earth, people watched the feeds with quiet satisfaction. The laughter that had once stung now fueled a new pride. For the first time, humanity's design philosophy was not mocked, but feared. Parents told their children, "We do not need to be fast. We only need to endure." In the great shipyards of Luna and Titan, more giants stirred. Sisters to the Dauntless, plated in armor, bristling with hidden firepower. Their engines lit slowly, deliberately, each one a promise. As for the Dauntless itself, it returned to the stars, carrying with it a reputation it had not asked for but had earned. Wherever it traveled, fleets gave it wide berth. Broadcasts whispered of its victories, and in the silence of deep space, its captain stood once more at the viewport, watching the void stretch ahead. His crew asked him what came next. Var answered, as he always did, with quiet certainty. "Next," he said, "we wait. They will test us again. They always do. But when they come, they will learn what the galaxy forgot. Humanity does not build ships to chase. We build them to finish." And somewhere, in 1,000 alien academies, cadets studying tactics whispered the same line over and over, as if it were already carved into the stone of history. Humans build slow because they never run.